Hi everyone, this is 0.8 day 3. We're gonna continue talking about stats. So far we talked about mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation. Today we're sort of gonna put all that together and see how you can use it to compare different sets of data. Okay, so technically speaking, we're going to use measures of spread. And remember, if you forgot that phrase, what that phrase means is, it's basically things like range and standard deviation. So that's what we're going to use today in order to compare sets of data. We're going to use our graphing calculators again. And the process is the same as in the previous section, but we're going to look at some other components of the measures of spread that we calculate. Okay, so what we're going to do is in the calculator, let's open up our calculator. So if you go to the home screen, you're going to add a new spreadsheet. Okay, and in that spreadsheet here, we're going to type in this data into column A. All right, so let's just talk about what the problem is that we're talking about here. So in example 8, it talks about metabolic rate, and this is the rate at which the body consumes energy, measures in calories per 24 hours. During a study on diet and exercise, the metabolic rates of two different groups of men were observed. Which group has a greater variation in metabolic rate? Okay, so it says which group has a greater variation in metabolic rate. Okay, so what we're going to do is the following. In our calculator, we're going to put in group 1 for the first column. So let's go ahead and do that. So here's our calculator. So this is where you would normally put it in, right? So you would say 1507, enter, and so on and so forth. Now, in order to save time, I already did that ahead of time. So this is the list, and you can see here we have 20 numbers, and we have 20 numbers over there. What we're going to do here, just like before, we're going to go to Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, and then the first one, right? So let's do that again to remind you guys. Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, one variable statistics, and press OK, and press OK, and here we go. This is the information that it gives us. Okay, so from here, what we're going to look at is we're going to write down the mean. And in this case, the mean is X bar, which is 1603.9. We're also going to write down the median, which is X tilde, right? And the median, if you go here, you kind of have to scroll down a little bit. It actually tells you the median right there is 1591.5. It's important that you know how to do this on your calculator, by the way, because you're going to be doing it a couple times on the quiz. What we also need here is the range, and we can calculate that ourselves. For the range, we need the highest number and the lowest number. This is the minimum, 1507, and if you search for the maximum, it's actually 1764. So the range is the max minus the min, 1764 minus, oh, you know what? There is a smaller one. Sorry, 1429. And that's, 330 35. All right, what we also need is the standard deviation. And here the standard deviation is SX, which is 100.2. Okay, next we're going to do the same exact thing for group 2. Now, let me show you a little trick so that you save time when you're doing this on the quiz as well, or on the test, or whenever. In this data, when you change any of the numbers, right? So let's say this one, I'm going to make it 1000, right? Do you see here, all of these calculations just adapt. So rather than do the whole process all over again, all you need to do right now for group 2 is just type in those numbers right here. And there are other ways to do this as well, which we're going to look at later on in the year. But for now, this is what we're going to do. So let's just type that in. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video for a minute, put all these numbers in, and then we will get back. Right, so with the new list, now I have the new mean for this, X bar, and it is 1604. My median, X tilde, further down in the list is 1605. The range is 1723 minus 1476, which is 247. And you can see over there that the standard deviation is 54.6. Right, so let's go ahead and see what all this means, okay? We're going to look at a couple of different things. So we're looking at which one has a greater variation. It means in which of the two groups are the data points more spread apart. All right, so let's take a look at the first one here. The mean is 1603 and the median is 1591. All right, and then the standard deviation is 100.2. So what that tells you is, if this is the mean, if I pick a random data point, then on average, it's going to be about 100 units away from the average, right? Now, take a look at group number 2. Here is the mean. Here is the standard deviation. The standard deviation is 54.6. That means a data point, a random data point, is on average going to be only 54 from the average, right? Only 54 from the average versus 100 from the average. That means if I have the average, the mean of the data, all these other points are gathered pretty close to that. But here, if I have the mean of the data, all these points are spread further from the data. The best way to tell, another good way to tell, is take a look at the difference between the mean and the median here, and take a look at the difference between the mean and the median here. So in group 2, the mean and the median are very close to each other, but in group 1, the mean and the median vary from each other. So here they vary, here they're close. This is investigation number 1. Investigation number 2 is there is a much higher standard deviation here. That means L1, or group 1 rather, has a higher variation. Okay, they're more spread apart. And that's that. All right, let's move on to a frequency distribution, or a frequency table. This is something that shows how a data is partitioned among several categories or classes. So basically, here's what we're going to do here. Look at this example. These are the winning scores for the first 42 Super Bowls. Okay, the winning scores. So in the first ever Super Bowl game, the team that won scored 35 points. Super Bowl number 2, the team that won scored 33 points, and so on. Okay, and then number 42, Super Bowl number 42, the winning team only scored 17 points. Okay. To make a distribution table, here's what we're going to do. First, we want to determine the range of the data. In this case, what you want to do is you want to find your lowest score and you want to find your highest score. All right, so when you search here, the lowest score is actually the 14. This is the minimum. And the maximum is 55. So these scores range from 14 to 55. All right, once you determine that, now you want to separate them into different categories, right? Into different classes. So what you want to do is you want to sort of, divide them into like different partitions. So you say, okay, what's a good set of divisions that we can divide this into? Well, one is we can divide them into classes or subcategories of tens, right? So we can go from, let's say, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, and so on and so forth. So that's what we do first. So I'm going to make classes or divisions of equal length, and they're going to go from 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59. So basically what I want to do is two things. I want to make these divisions have equal length. And if you see here from 10 to 19, there are 10 numbers, right? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 10 total numbers. Now, if you went from 10 to 20, that's not 10, that's 11. So you have to watch out for that. So we're going to go from 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and so on. And you want to make sure that your first division will contain the minimum and your last division will contain the maximum. Now, could you have gone up by 5s? Yes, you could have. You could have done 10 to 14, 14 to 19, 20 to 24, 24 to 29, and so on. Okay, we just made a decision, an arbitrary decision to go up by 10s. Okay, once you do that, you make a chart like this, and here you've got your classes. And now literally what you're going to do is you're going to tally these scores. So here's what we do. Okay, the first one is 35. That goes in this one. I put a tally mark. 33. That goes in this one. 16. That goes in this one. 23. Right here. I do all of them, right? With the last one, 17. It goes in this one. And then I'm done. Now what I need to do is count. So in this category, in this class, I have 5 of them. That is the frequency. All right, it's literally how many you have. From 20 to 29, I have 16, then 15, then 4, then 2, and so on. When you add them all up, the total has to be the same as the total number of points that you have. So that's the frequency. The relative frequency is this number divided by the total. So you can either do 5 over 42, or you literally divide 5 divided by 42, and you get 0.112, and that's what that is. Okay, now on the quiz, I'm going to ask that you round to 1 decimal place. So that would be 0.1. Then we have 16 over 42. That would be 0.38, which is 0.4, 0.4, and so on. All right, so now let's talk about a couple of things. Class boundaries, class midpoints, and all that stuff. Let's just jump here and let's talk about each of these. Class width is from 10 to 19, right? Like what's the width? There are 10 numbers. So the class width is 10. We made equal divisions of 10. Okay. Lower class is all of these numbers right here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's those. Upper class, it's these. So 19, 29, 39, 49, 59. Before class boundaries, I'm gonna add one more here. And that's gonna be class limits. Class limits is literally what it says over there. So 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59. Please add this. It will be in your quiz as well. Okay, now class boundaries. Let's talk about this for a minute. So I have one class that goes from 10 to 19, right? And then I have another one that goes from 20 to 29. Okay, what's this border number here? 19.5, right? That's the boundary, 19.5. Now the next one over is 29.5. 39.5. 49.5. And then we can end there. Okay, the midpoints. The midpoints are the numbers in between, right? So the midpoint here between 10 and 19, all you have to do for the midpoints is add them, like 10 and 19, divide by 2. That's 14.5. If you can do it in your head, that's fine too. 24.5, 34.5, 44.5, 54.5. Okay? So that's that. All right. And I will leave it with this for today, and we will continue with the rest tomorrow.